Hmm. Says I'm live. Oh yes, here we go. So testing that the sound is working. Yes, I'm live. Oh yes, here we go. Oh, okay. It seems to be working. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Crafting with Vanessa. And I'm very pleased to say I think I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Woohoo! Wow, that's a bit scary. Okay. Today I'm showcasing some new products from Stampin' Up. And just a quick mention that next week Stampin' Up are having a Black Friday sale. So that starts on Tuesday the 25th and runs till Monday the 1st of December. So a little shout out to Stampin' Up for that amazing opportunity. So yeah, get your wish list together and be ready to hit that button on the 25th. We don't know what will be on sale yet, but they've set up to 40% off. So yeah, jump in and have a look on the 25th. So I'm just going to swap the camera around to the back and swing this down. Okay, right. Just had a weird message there on the screen. Hopefully all is well. Okay, so one of the products that I'm showing today is the Lasting Linen stamp set. Oh, and this is the new packaging, by the way. This is the first one I've got in the new packaging. So it's a flat, this is the stamp set. So it's a very flat system. We no longer have the case. And the stamp sits in here in between the two layers of the, the packaging label. Excuse me. And it sits on this, the thicker plastic sheet. I've pulled off the thinner one that covers the top. You don't really need that because this side will come down and cover the top. So then that just slides into the little folder, and then you can just tuck that. I'm sure with use that will pop out a bit easier, but you just tuck that into that little slot. So that's the packaging, which I'm loving so far. So the dies and the stamps are both in the same size, so you can put them all together on your shelf and always know where things are. So that is the stamp, one of the stamp sets. The other one, I was just trying quickly to make another card to show you, but I ran out of time. So the other one is Friendly Foliage, and this is a bundle. So I've got the stamps here and the dies. And I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's got this cool little stamp where you've got the leaves in sort of a framed border, and there's some dies that will cut that out. So I'm going to use that today on my card. And I'm also using a new designer series paper, which I think may have been an online exclusive. It's called Brushed with Beauty 12 by 12 designer series paper. And as you can cut to this one, I'm using this colorway today. But it's a really pretty floral with some great background sort of watercolor looks on the back, and these beautiful floral images on the front. I love that one, and this one. I love quite a lot of it, this one as well. So yeah, worth checking out. That one, Brushed with Beauty. Right, so I just wanted to quickly show the Lasting Linen stamp. So this is a background stamp. So this is the size of it. It's quite large. I've got it on the largest block, which is a F block. You can also use this if you have a Stamparatus or a similar tool. I find big stamps are quite good to use with that. But I just wanted to, I did just a couple of samples. So this is what we're using today. This is stamped with crumb cake ink, and you'll see that it almost looks like fabric. It's got that sort of texture to it. And then this one I did with copper embossing powder. So hopefully you can see the shine on there. But it just makes a wonderful background. I don't know if you remember a few months ago, earlier in the year, we had a lovely embossing folder with a similar sort of texture. So handy to have in your stash. So I love this and the shine that's on there. And you'll see that there's little gaps where there's no little dots, and I think that's just part of the stamp. But also, as a trick, I did use my Stampin' Pierce mat. So because this is a photopolymer stamp, if you use the mat, you just get that little bit of give. So this is sort of spongy, and it just allows you to push into the paper when you're doing your stamp, and just push it in so that it covers the whole thing. I did one where I had gaps, so I bought in my Stampin' mat, and it was much better. So there we are, some tips for you and some different ideas of using embossing powder with your background stamp. So let's get into the project. I'm just going to leave that on there because I'm going to stamp my linen background, but I don't need the whole stamp, so I want some of it just to go on that scrap paper. Right, so I've got my piece here. So I've already cut it to size, so I'm just going to stamp on it. I might just bring that into the middle a bit. Right, so because it's a large stamp and I'm only doing a small area, I'm just going to actually ink the one end of the stamp. So I don't need the whole thing to be inked. And I'll put that on this side because I don't want any interference over here, because that's where my stamp's going to go. And then I'm just actually aiming for the middle. Like, I've actually gone over, I'm not trying to line up the edges with the stamp, my point. And I can see through that and see that I'm relatively straight. I'm not too fussed about it. It's the background, and I want it to kind of look natural. I obviously don't want it on a huge angle, but I'm not being too precious. And then when I lift that up, it does actually stick to the stamp, and that's quite normal. So I'm just going to peel away, and you can use take your pick tool, one of the things on there if you don't want to put your finger near it, but I just got my thumbnail under there and pulled it off. So that's our stamped, and you can see I am a little crooked, but that's all right, it's all good. So that's stamped in crumb cake. So that's one layer for our card, and I'll put that stamp aside. I don't need that ink now, and I might just leave that pad there. So the other thing I'm doing is using the stamp. This is Secret Sea ink, and the stamp of the leaves in the frame from the Friendly Foliage. So we're just going to ink that up. And the stamp is a little bit bigger than the ink pad, so I'm just making sure I've got the whole thing covered. Looking good. A little bit of ink come down onto the stamp, but I think we should be fine. I'm just going to stamp that, and I'm just going for the middle. My piece here is plenty big enough for the whole thing. Again, I'm just using the mat just to give me that little bit of give. And then you can, oh, here we are. So the paper here is sticking out the bottom from the block, so I can just put a finger there. And then when I lift this up, the paper doesn't stick to the stamp. Okay, loving that. I'm just going to give this stamp a little wash. And now this is where the dies come in. So there are actually two dies to get this image cut out, and I have found that I prefer using them separately. So you can, if you're brave, put them on together, because one does it like an inner part of it, and it's just a matter of lining it up. So they go like that together if you want to do it together. I'm always scared one or the other will move on me. I just don't have any luck with that. So I'm going to do them separately. So I'll just get the mini machine. So I'm just going to put the outside one on first, and I'm lining up with the leaves. And just checking that my edge looks even all the way around. It's just a matter of lifting your fingers away and just double checking it again. It needs to go up ever so slightly. There we go. And then put the top one down and double check it again before you roll it through. Oops, sliding around a bit here. Okay, so you can use the image just like that. So you don't even need to do the inside bit if you don't want to. If that's what you're after, then you can just do it like that. But I'm going to cut out the center as well. If I line that up again, it was a weird bird noise. Okay, and then pop it on. So we've got, I'm just looking through the holes and lining it up with the leaves. Okay, and then we go again just with that die, and again just check it. And I see it moved. Get rid of that one. Sometimes when you put the top plate on, it can move. Okay, we'll try that again. And push it. So I'm pushing it down to make sure that I'm holding it with one finger as well, just to make sure it doesn't move again before I get it through the machine. There we go. So look at this. Cut out that whole centre and you're left with that. Isn't that cool? I just love it. I think that's amazing. So now we're going to go ahead and use that on our card. So this is the fun bit, right? Putting the card together. So I've got a Secret C card base, and I've got a layer of crumb cake. So I'm just going to attach that. Oh, now I don't know if this is a good glue or I have a glue that's oozing, and I have some that I was using in class this weekend and starting to run out. So we'll just see which one we have here. It's always a surprise because I tend to take the ones that aren't working so great and just put them on my desk so that people don't have a bad experience with the glue. Right, so we've got our crumb cake layer on there. Oh, and I can see that's going to ooze, so we're going to have to keep the lid on. I think it might have got squeezed a little bit hard. Now I've got a layer that is a basic white, and I've already embossed this with the exposed brick 3D embossing folder. So you can see that brick design in the background there. And it was really just to have a little bit of something on that background. So I could have used the linen stamp for this, but I wanted the linen stamp to be just behind my leaf image. So I've kept it for that. So I'm just going to add this layer. And yeah. Should I dimensional that? Just wondering. Oh no, I think I'll leave it. So we'll go flat. I will dimensional one of the layers. So this is just increments, stepping down your layers, whether you're in inches or metric. Okay, now I've got a piece of that lovely designer series paper. Isn't this lovely on the background? I love that. That's sort of a petal pink. But I wanted to use the contrasting colour here. So I've got the Secret C, and I'm using Darling Duckling as my contrasting colour. So I'm going to attach this piece. And this is going to go right to the edge, but I've got a little gap top and bottom, but to the edge of the white, and then evenly spaced top and bottom. Okay, excuse me. Now, what did I do with my stamped? Have I lost it already? With the one I did before, but I've lost the one I just did then. Oh well, lucky I've got this one as a spare. I don't know where it went. Okay, so this is my stamped linen layer. So I'm going to attach that to Secret Sea. So I'm bringing back in that colour from the card base. And you'll note that I've used crumb cake ink on here, and I've got that crumb cake layer, so everything's coordinating. A little gap around that, Secret Sea. And this is where my foliage is going to sit. But I want to put a ribbon across it first. So I actually like this one I did earlier better, so I'm going to okay, so I've got a piece of the Early Espresso linen thread, and it's a piece that was already cut, so it's actually a bit long for this, but I'm going to put it across here, and I want it to sit sort of about there. And I'm going to put my leaves on over top of it, so it's just going to go in the background. I'll just flip that over and use some tear and tape to secure it on the back. And I think this is the layer that I will put on dimensionals. Just hold that there, and I might just trim off those extra bits because it might get a bit lumpy under there. Okay, now we'll just check that that's straight. It's not quite. There we go. Okay, and I do have another piece here that I'm going to tie a bow. I think I'll do that before I put my image on. Slide that under. And I've just tied it around those two pieces of thread. And I want it sort of on an angle. Kind of like that. I think that will be fine once that's on. And that little side can just sit. I actually do want it more on an, that's kind of an up and down. I want it a little bit more sideways. So we'll just have another go. So it's all in the way where you tighten the knot is sort of where the angle will go. So see, I've tightened that one a little bit more on the 45 degrees rather than, oh, it's still not quite behaving where I want it. Magic of being live. Okay, that's a bit better. So it's sort of more that way rather than straight up and down. Okay, so I was going to put this on, I am going to put that on dimensionals. I've got lots of side bits. I want some small ones. I'll use the big ones on the next step. I'll just raid my class box for some small dimensionals. Here we go. So hopefully there's a few places on here that I can put dimensionals. Now I'm mindful of that string going through. I don't want a dimensional to end up on there because then it's going to be at a higher layer than if it's on the stamped linen area. So I'll do the ones sort of at the top. And there's some nice big areas here where I can put dimensionals easily. And I think that would be okay down the bottom. So I'm just avoiding that area through there so that it doesn't end up on the string. Cut one in half to put down here. And I'll just do a little rough check. It's kind of going to go on there. Where am I? If I look sideways, I should be able to see where those dimensionals are. Yes. Yep, that's looking quite good. I might just get one. And what you can do is, if you don't quite know exactly where it's going to end up, but you want another dimensional. So I was thinking of putting one sort of here. Actually, I can go there. Just with a half one. Oh, there's one there. I was going to go further down here. I like using lots because I don't want it to sag. If it gets, through the post, it's quite rough. They stick it through flattening machines and all sorts of things. So you don't want it to stay flat. So this is like, you've got to think, if it goes and gets flattened, will it pop back up again? So with these foam bits, I want plenty of them, keeping it up in the right place. Where else do I need one? Perhaps up there on that corner. And I'm just using half bits here, so it's not... Okay, I think that might do. So I want to get this on, and I'm just going to move that bow. Hold on to the string. You should be able to push the bow, the edge, just to get it sort of out of the way while I get this on. And that can even wrap around the back. Just get rid of the bits that are the way. Okay, so moving. All the birds are singing now. We've had a bit of rain here today. And overnight, quite a bit of rain. Okay, have I got them all? I think I have. Oh, there's that one there. No, that's done. Okay. So I'm just making sure. So my real worry is that one there. So I just want to make sure that I get that underneath the string, which it is. And I'm trying to get it in about the center, like top to bottom and side to side. There we go. So I've engineered that so that these are overhanging the blue a little bit. I like the way that kind of splays out from that background piece. And then we can bring our bow back around and scooch it back over. And I might just trim those little ends. Okay, that's going to go on dimensionals, and I've got the bigger ones here for that. And I leave the tape on, that backing on the tape on the back there. Again, for that reason, if it got squashed in the post, if that tape was, if that top layer was removed, it would likely just stick down onto this layer. Right, so now I'm going for the center. My micrometer is working today. There we go. Doesn't that make a cool focal point? I just think it's fabulous and so easy. Now, some words. So in this paper there's early espresso, and I thought that was a good colour to use for the words. So I've got Thinking of You. I find with smaller stamps like words and things, I don't need the matte as much, but just to make sure we get a nice crisp image, it's just here I'm going to use it. And I might just go for the middle. I'm probably not going to get much more out of this little piece of paper. Does that look crooked to you? I feel like it's a little crooked. It's annoying when that happens, isn't it? So, do you know about the dental floss trick? Although I might get the dimensionals off if I'm quick, having already stuck them down. But the floss is a really good way of breaking the seal on those dimensionals and just getting this layer off. Just like that. Pull it off and have another go at getting that straight. Wasn't happy with that. I don't want to measure it, but you know, sometimes your eye just tells you it's not quite right. That looks better, I think. Yeah, it was kicking out at the bottom. Okay, happy about that. Right, so now we can trim down our word, and you've got a couple of options. You can use your trimmer, or you can use scissors. If you're going to try scissors, I would use a pair of scissors with a long blade because you've got better control. But I'm going to use my trimmer. So I think I've stamped it fairly straight. So I'm just going to use trimmer guide. So my cut is going to be through the centre of there. That's about right. I could probably have taken a little bit more off. We'll see how we end up here. So I'm just going to move that slightly. I don't want to chop the bottom of my Y off. But I think I do need to take a bit more off the top. So it's quite good. You can line it up on these lines to make sure that it's still straight. Just take another sliver and then I can just do the ends. And when you're cutting upwards, you don't need to hold it so much because you're cutting up towards this solid straight edge. But when you're cutting downwards, I don't know if you noticed, and I should have pointed it out, but when I've got my blade at the top and I'm cutting down, I hold on to the piece, because if you just bring that blade down, your card will likely go like that, and then you have a wonky cut. So you do need to hold it up there if you're coming down with the force of that downward motion. It's going to pull the card. Okay, so we have our words. And that's why I put the string underneath, because I want now the words to just sit up on top like that. If I had the string there, it would be harder to attach the words. So I'm just going to put some little dots on the leaves, roughly where my words go through here. Just some little blobs of glue, and then I want it overhanging off that side. Actually just move it down a smidge. About there. So I've got these leaves poking out the top. Wonderful. And now I've got some embellishments. These are Pearls of Beauty, so they go with this paper. So you've got like a pearly one, a orangey one, and a crumb cake one. So I thought that probably the crumb cake was, it's crumb cake, but it's the light is picking up that little glint of yellow on it, which is quite nice. So that's what I thought I would use. And my Take Your Pick tool, oh yes, here it is. I think the white, because two of them are going to go on the white, so I just felt that would be a bit lost, and I haven't used that colour in the project. So, oh, I've lost my little pearl already. Here he is. Okay, so we're going to put one over here by the edge of the words. Take another one. Oh, there's actually, oh yeah, there's two sizes in this packet of each one. So one is going to go up here, maybe there, and then a smaller one to do my 3 gems that I always do. Right, now we've just got the inner to decorate. Got my white inner here, and in the stamp set there is so this is how the stamp set comes when you've got one that's all different pieces, rather than what I showed you before was just the background stamp. So it kind of sits in your packaging, just in there like that. And I think I've kept the cover for this. I don't know if I like it at the moment sticking to this backing. So when it's closed and in the packet, it's going to stick to there. I'm not sure. So I think I've kept the plastic sheet that came off there. Oh no, that's a bigger one. Where's the little one? Anyway, I'll find it later. Here it is. Just so I can, if I want to, put that back over, and then of course it won't stick to there. But then you've got to take that off each time. So yeah, I'm still on the fence as to what I'm doing there. So I've got this little, it's like a border stamp. It's really cute, of some leaves. You just find a block. Oh, and I'll show you, that's what I was just doing with this one. It's actually one of the samples that's on the website for the foliage set, and I've used the Floral Charm DSP rather than cutting into another piece of the beauty one yet, just till I work out what I'm using that for classes. But this is that border stamp that I'm going to use. So I was just doing this up as another sample for you, but I'll include that in the email. I'll get it done and I'll include it with the replay and the measurements. Right, so now which colour? I'm sort of leaning, I think I'm leaning to the blue because when the card's open, it's going to be with the blue. So I would probably do either blue or crumb cake. Maybe I'll do crumb cake as a bit of a contrast. And it's quite subtle crumb cake. So that's just going to go along the bottom. So when you're doing this, again, this is a fairly thin stamp. So I'm not too worried about using the stamping mat, but I do want to get it straight. So if I use my grid here that I've got on my glass mat, then I can start at one end. Oh, that's so sweet. And then I'm just going to use the same line. So I use that darker line, but I want to line it up. The little stem there, I can continue this leaf, and I've got the center over here lined up with the line. So hopefully it's fairly straight-ish. That's not too bad. So that's a lovely little decoration for the inside across the bottom, and then I'll just pop that in there. Oh, now the glue. Oh, no, here we go. That's what they... Okay. Yeah, I quite like that contrast, I think, of the crumb cake there for my border. And you can carry that on if you wanted to, you know, up one side or something as well in that L shape, like I'm doing on this card. I didn't realize when I came across the bottom, I didn't notice that top bit until I'd already gone right across, but it's got some leaves down here in the final card, so that will get hidden. Okay, so there we have it. I hope you like my card. I'm quite happy with how that turned out. I love that linen background, and I'd love to have some more time to play and use it, you know, on a whole card background, and also playing with the stamp and using it perhaps without cutting out the center and seeing, you know, what other ways it can be used. So yeah, that's all for this week, and I'll be back again in 2 weeks' time. But in the meantime, if you have any queries about the Black Friday sale, then please do reach out to me. And I will now try and see if I can end this video. Should be okay. I think I've got a little stop button here. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again in 2 weeks. Bye.